Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Primetime Rundown NHL special preview show right here on the Eastern Observer. Dirty Little Hipster, take it away. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you live to the NHL preview special right here on the Eastern Observer. The Primetime Rundown is presented to you by Black Cats NYC. Alongside my guys, Ian Schraier, Rob DeLuca, I'm Joey Jarzynka. We cannot thank you enough for joining us here. We have a plethora of special guests coming in here, and we do see Donnie Rosner is with us in just a few short seconds, but we'll get him in just a few minutes. We've got Donnie Rosner coming on here. We've got our rotational fourth host, Casey Bryant, coming in for a little bit. And then we have a couple of professionals coming in here as well. We have SiriusXM and the Fourth Period co-founder Dave Pagnotta. He will be coming on with us, as well as our good friend and let's call him the Eastern Observer's insider, Dennis Bernstein. He'll be on with us as well later on in the program. Ian Schraier, Rob DeLuca, how are you guys? And hockey is right around the corner, fellas.
I can't believe hockey's just about here, where tomorrow is going to be 1 week until the puck drops, and then a week from Thursday, Rangers and Islanders. Sorry, no offense to Rob's Devils, but season drops for my Rangers and Joey's Islanders, and a lot to look forward to. I can't wait to get the hockey season started.
DeLuca, I see you have your New Jersey Devils polo on here, and you know what? And I can't wait until we bring in Donnie, because the Islanders will officially outrank Rangers and Devils here, so that'll be good. But DeLuca, how are you?
Doing great. As they say in hockey, let's do that hockey. And I could not be more excited for the season to start. Nice little challenge for my New Jersey Devils, opening up with 2 games against the Boston Bruins, both at home in Newark. So we'll have a nice little home ice advantage there. And we will see where the season takes us from there.
Well, in that case now, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring in our special guest. And Donnie Rosner, where are you? Where is your thing? Oh, boy, there we go. We saved the best for last there. Donnie Rosner, ladies and gentlemen, the owner of Blue Line Deli, that now has become a staple to the New York Islanders fan community. And just about a few steps to my – or that way, actually, from my house. Donnie Rosner, how are you? And good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you guys, too. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Ian Schraier, Rob DeLuca, this is Donnie Rosner. And for all of those that do not know, Blue Line Deli is located at 719 West Jericho Turnpike here in Huntington, New York. Visit them at bluelinedeli.com. And also, don't forget, follow Donnie Rosner at Blue Line Deli 719. Really, really good stuff. Donnie, welcome to the show. Let's talk a little bit about the man that has signed a 4-year contract just right behind you. I got to start this off, guys, because, I heard it earlier, and it was a little weird to me when you see someone like Ross Johnston that signed for a few more years, but then you have the heart and soul of that fourth line that is kind of in need of re-signing. So I want to hear your thoughts as a diehard fan, what this signing and re-signing, if you will, means to not only you, but also to the New York Islanders.
Yeah, he's a heart and soul guy. I mean, when they start the game, that line, and they just start banging bodies, I mean, that just sets the tone for the game. It lets the other team know that watch out, and Matt Martin's just been a class act since the beginning, and he's been around for so long. And despite a couple years in Toronto, he's a lifelong Islander. And the way I see it, he deserves to retire an Islander. I was ecstatic when I saw that deal that he signed.
A 2008 fifth-round draft pick, mind you, everybody. And I need to hear now, and as we did say, I know Donnie heard this in the open, but finally, because Donnie's here, I have it's 2 Islanders fans, and then over to my right there is a Rangers fan, which, boo. And then on the And then we have down there, I can't really do it, or somewhere down there is Rob DeLuca. I can't point my fingers in. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Rob DeLuca is a New Jersey Devils fan, but now I want to hear the outsider's perspective and hear what this unofficial 4-year contract for the heart and soul guy, or as what Jordan Eberle called him, the glue guy for that fourth line. Let's hear it from the Rangers fan first.
Sure. Why not point it to the Ranger fan first? The Islanders' more hated rival, right?
Right.
Well, Donnie, first of all, thank you so much for coming on tonight. We really appreciate you being here, and congratulations on all the success that Blue Line has had, especially, I'm sure, last postseason during the Islanders' run. I still have not made my way to Huntington to come grab a bagel, but I absolutely plan to do it at some point this upcoming year in 2021. But Joey, to your question with respect to Matt Martin, yeah, he is, and I think Donnie said it perfectly, that he's really the glue that holds that fourth line together with him, Cal Clutterbuck, and Casey Cizikas, and he's really the healthiest of the three players, at least recently, of the three players on that fourth line, because Cizikas was injured last year, and so was Cal Clutterbuck, constantly on and off, injury. But he got signed to a 4-year deal at $1.5 million average annual value. So in all, it's a 4 year, $6 million deal. The Islanders do have to be very careful right now how they are allocating their money. That right now, Matthew Barzell he's listed on the training camp roster. I know we're going to get into Barzell in a second, but they still have to lock him up. So they're going to have, probably after signing Barzell, they're probably going to have somewhere in the range of 15 to 20 million left. And then next season, I don't want to start looking already to the 2021 offseason. You got to start re-signing guys like Anthony Beauvillier and Casey Cizikas. So this fear, I know 4 years is a lot of years for a fourth liner, and I'm sure Rob will attest to this as well. They just got to be very careful with where they're spending their money, because right now they're going to have a couple of big contracts that they're going to need to re-up at the end of this upcoming season.
DeLuca, you're a New Jersey Devils fan, and you know Lou Lamoriello very well. So you see these grinders that Lou Lamoriello is pretty happy to have on a lot of his rosters. Your thoughts on a 4-year deal for a 31-year-old?
It sounds exactly like something Lou Lamoriello would do, if we're being honest here. I would not have expected anything less, really. I mean, this is just the way Lou runs things. He is a win-now GM. The Islanders are currently a win-now team, if you ask me. I mean, look, they were 1 round away from the Stanley Cup final, so there's no doubt that they're ready to strike, especially when you've got the right coach, you've got the right forwards, and sometimes you just need that depth out there. The Islanders do have one of the better fourth lines in the entire league, and Matt Martin being a key point of that fourth line. The money is perfect. Again, I personally believe the term's a little high for a fourth liner. I don't think any fourth liner, no matter how good, should ever be given 4 years, because fourth liners are really a dime a dozen. But it just comes down. I get it from an Islanders fan standpoint. There's a loyalty factor, and you just love that he's here to stay. He's not going anywhere, and that who knows if this could be it, or if this is where he's staying for the rest of his career, however long that may be.
You know what's really crazy too, guys? Something that Ian Schraier brought up too is that a few days ago, also I believe on the media call, Cal Clutterbuck said that he doesn't have feeling in 3 of his fingers, but he is quote unquote good to go, which really is amazing. Now, Donnie, I have to ask you this again, because thankfully you're my Islanders compadre on here, and with Cal being not having any feeling or numbness or nerve damage or whatever the case may be in 3 of his fingers, and he still says he's good to go. It just shows the courage and also the toughness that not only a New York Islander has, but also a hockey player in general has. And to talk about that from a fan point as well, to see that from years of mediocrity, where random players would come in and old washed up players would come in, and now things are slowly progressing forward.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, you hope that he's getting better. And I think I read somewhere that it's slowly feeling is coming back little by little. But just the heart of those guys. I mean, I put Casey Cizikas and Martin and Boychuk, all those guys. I mean, they take a pounding for this team, and they seem to enjoy to do it. For me, it's, I care about their health first, obviously, but just seeing them put things like that on the back burner to give everything they got for the team. I mean, that's just inspiring stuff. And I think it sends a message to the younger guys too. Like, if you're feeling a little pain, like deal with it and let's go win a game, So I love that mentality.
It's really amazing to see that mentality. Ian Schraier, go ahead.
Yeah, I think something that we can't forget here is you really can't put any amount of money on the fact that the Islanders last year were able to roll 4 lines deep. There aren't many teams in the NHL that last year that were able to say that. And for the Islanders, even during their years of mediocrity, the one thing that they always had, and this is coming from me as a Rangers fan, I hated going up against the Islanders' fourth line. And that fourth line, there is just such stability there. And the fact that if Clutterbuck and Cizikas can find a way to stay healthy, it's one of the best fourth lines in all of hockey.
It's really, again, crazy to see that we have come a long way from the Toronto and Edmonton bubbles, and now we will be playing hockey here at the Nassau Coliseum, also at Madison Square Garden, also at the Prudential Center as well. There was also some rumblings a few weeks ago that Newark would be a possible hub city in case there was an outbreak or if they did resort to the bubble format. So really crazy stuff. Donnie, you're a big Islanders fan, as we've continued to say over and over again. We've beaten a dead horse to death on that one. But Matthew Barzell, this is big news. And do you sense a little Mitch Marner in the way that these contract negotiations are going?
Maybe a little bit. I just think that he's going to try to maximize the money that he's going to get, also knowing that he's got to take a little bit less because of the situation. That's nobody's fault. It just is what it is. But he's going to try to get what he feels he deserves, and I don't blame him for that. I mean, he's talked about as the team's best player. He's so dynamic, and he's just getting started. So, he could probably be making a lot more money if this situation wasn't happening. So, I don't blame him or fault him at all for trying to get what he feels he deserves. And I think that Lou will give him as much as he's possibly able to.
Ian or DeLuca, your thoughts on Matthew Barzell? And really, we just had Dylan Strome. Dylan Strome and Matthew Barzell were the two. Actually, also Pierre-Luc Dubois were actually the 3 guys that needed to be re-signed. But now the spotlight is here on Long Island. Ian, start with you. Your thoughts with Matthew Barzell and this contract negotiation.
Yeah, I thought Donnie said it best, that he's just trying to maximize his return. And why wouldn't you? He's the best scorer on the Islanders. The Islanders, even though he hasn't repeated the production that we saw from his rookie season, he's still the best scorer that the Islanders have on that roster, bar none. The expectation, or I should say the hope, is that he would return to that form. Right now, it seems like the two sides are still pretty far apart. I mean, they're hoping to get something done. They were hoping to get something done before training camp. We're now 3 days into training camp. Nothing's been signed. The puck drops on the season a week from Thursday for the Islanders. And keep in mind that Barzell is not arbitration eligible. So right now, the Islanders only have about $4 million now. And is that even counting potentially the PTOs for Green and Corey Schneider at this point, to try to find a way to work something out with Barzell? I think eventually something will get done. Right now, I think the number that they're expecting in terms of average annual value is somewhere between the $6 to $9 million range. I think Barzell might be asking for a little more than that, and I think that he has right now the leverage to be able to do that. So is a bridge contract in the future? I don't know, but the puck drops a week from Thursday, so we'll see what happens.
It's really crazy because, as you did say, $3.9 million is the projected cap space, and that is without Johnny Boychuk on long-term injured reserve right now. Or technically, that number has yet to roll over, but we'll see what happens. So you figure roughly about $10 million, as Ian just alluded to. Rob DeLuca, we'll finish off with you here on this one with Barzell, because your team actually is having similar situation, but unfortunately your player in Jesper Bratt is not stateside though, as Matthew Barzell is, and he's actually here on Long Island.
Yes, this is a big problem for the New Jersey Devils in the fact that with COVID-19, there's quarantine procedures. And also, he is Swedish, so he's got visa procedures, which he cannot start until he actually has a contract. So to say that I'm disappointed in this team in this team's leadership is an understatement. This management, because we've had 10 months to do this. It's January. We've been on pause since March. The groundwork at the bare minimum should have been put into place here. You put in whatever groundwork you can. As for the Islanders, Barzell should be asking for whatever he wants, and Lou Lamoriello should be ready to fork it over, because this, as Ian said, this is a player that you don't come around often. You just gotta get both teams just get it done.
19 goals, 41 assists, 60 points last year. That is without the playoffs. He was a Calder Trophy winner 2017, 2018. As me and Donnie know, he is the kid that won the Calder.
I'm sure the Islanders, though, would have liked, or I should say the Islander fans would have liked to have seen a little more in the goal column rather than his more unselfish play in racking up the assists.
Donnie, would you like to respond to that?
I think that he's still kind of coming into his own a little bit, trying to figure out Trotz's system. I think in year one it was go, go, go. Let's see what you got, kid. And this year I think it's more like, here's the structure, here's the system. Try to combine your game to what we're trying to teach you. And I think that once they figure all that out, I think that he'll definitely get more production for sure.
Johnny Boychuk. There's a lot of fandom, obviously, that is noticed not only from Islanders fans ever since he was traded for basically a bag of pucks back in 2014-15 season by Garth Snow, legendary Islanders general manager, we can call him. And not only that, but also Nick Leddy was traded basically for a bag of pucks as well, just the day before Johnny. And as we know, Johnny Boychuk was very beloved in the city of Boston, but also became a fan favorite here, known as Johnny Rocket. And it's a perfect segue. And as I see Donnie smiling down there, because he knows where he's where I'm going with this. And we actually tested this graphic out earlier, and I made Ian hungry. And just by this, and people are wondering, why am I putting up a pastrami sandwich? Why am I putting up something that looks so delicious right now when this is a hockey preview show? So because of Johnny Boychuk, we'll let Donnie tell the story. The Johnny Rocket now is born and is a sandwich at your Blue Line Deli.
Yeah, and it is pretty damn good.
It looks like it.
Since, I actually found out from his brother on Twitter what his favorite meal was. Like when they would practice, they'd go to a local deli by them, and that's typically what he would get on a day where he wanted to eat what he liked. And so I thought I got to try to duplicate that to the best of my ability. We only use the best meats and stuff. It's all boar's head. So, I mean, that is a very delicious meal right there for sure.
Yeah.
What time does Blue Line close?
Right now we close at 4.
Oh,
he closed at 4. Yeah, there was a couple of days ago. I had walked in at 3:30, and I felt bad. I was like, oh God, everyone's
never feel bad. We don't mind.
I know. Everyone's wrapping up, and I'm that guy. But yeah, no, Johnny Boychuk. His playing days are over. Now that we got the sandwich out of the way, let's talk about the player, Johnny Rockets, because really what he has done for the New York Islanders in his time, he showed tremendous leadership. Now, not only did Johnny Boychuk, his career ended. He didn't leave. His career ended, and he technically did not retire, but Devon Toews was also traded as well. So not one, but 2 Islanders defensemen were on their way out. And it could be a little, it will look a little different on that third defensive pairing. I want to start with you, Donnie, because now we're going to see Andy Green and Noah Dobson on that third pairing the entire way. Andy Green, I believe he's 37 years old, 38 years old, in that range. Any cause for concern, maybe the durability for a whole season?
I don't think so. I mean, Green looked fantastic last year. He just gelled with the team right away. And in the playoffs, I thought he was fantastic. And as far as Dobson goes, I mean, it's his time. I hated to see Taves go, but I understand why he did. And, that's why you have kids that, hopefully good kids that can come up and take spots over, because when you need to make some room because of the cap, like you need that guy to step in. Green's been around a very long time. As Rob, you probably know him very, very well. I think he's a stud. I mean, he's been great. I mean, since he got here, and I'm very excited to see what Dobson can bring. I think there's a lot of hype behind him, and we'll see. I don't know. I don't know for sure. We saw him in a few games. I'm not sure. We'll see.
Rob DeLuca, as Donnie said, you do know Andy Green very well, and Lou Lamoriello knows him very well as well, because he traded a second rounder for him, and that got a lot of heat last year. There was a lot of talk that it was an overreach, going for a very older player, the captain of the Devils, for a second round pick. But for right now, it's looking like it will pay off. You figure. We don't know. Your thoughts on Andy Green being on that third pairing for a very experienced, and I can't believe I just said that, but a very experienced New York Islanders team?
You're getting you're getting what you're paid for. You paid for leadership. You paid for the veteran experience. You paid for the playoff experience. Andy Green has all of those things. So there's no question that the player you are getting, especially for, I don't believe the terms of Green's contracts have been disclosed yet, but when they do, I'm sure it'll come very cheap, and you're going to get the player that you get. He is a bottom pair defenseman right now just because of his age. He's getting up there in age. You got to let your younger, better guys take the top pairing minutes, but he does provide the leadership that we saw on the Devils for many, many years. And it seems like Lou Lamoriello has a fascination with all of his former players, and he brought in Corey Schneider as well. I'm assuming he's going to be the taxi squad goalie for the Islanders this season. I can't imagine why that wouldn't be the case. Otherwise, I don't see the point of bringing him in. But that's where that is just pretty much the gist of it.
Donnie, can Piero Greco, the director of goaltending, and Mitch Korn, can they fix Corey Schneider? Your thought on that? I would want to hear a random thought from you on this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just from it's been proven that these guys are like the goalie whisperers, and they know how to get through. They see things maybe that other goalie coaches don't. I'm totally excited that we have those guys. I mean, our whole coaching staff is just ridiculous, maybe the best in the world, and it still amazes me that we have them. If you would have told me when Tavares was leaving, that we were going to be where we are, I would have taken that deal any day. Tavares leaves, you give me Lamoriello, Trotz, this coaching staff, forget it. Done. Easily done.
When you said best in the world, I saw Ian's his corneas were in the back of his main eyeballs. They were rolling, and I loved it. That was fantastic. But now I need to go to Ian Schraier here. I need to ask you this, because now I want to conclude with this topic with you, because you're a Rangers fan, and listen. There might be a possibility that Corey Schneider could be playing or could be the backup. We have no idea what Ilya Sorokin is all about. Your thoughts on all of that?
Well, I first want to say that no offense to the Islanders goaltending coaching staff, I think Benoit Allaire with the Rangers has quite a resume as well in the city with the Rangers. But look, we
touche. We'll give that to you.
I think we have to temper our expectations, and the same could be said for the Rangers with Alexis Lafreniere. The same thing with Ilya Sorokin. I think we have to temper our expectations in regards to what you're going to expect to see from him. You already have a staple in net with Semyon Varlamov. I know Islander fans are giddy about the idea of Sorokin. He potentially could play the second game of that back-to-back against the Rangers. It's very, very possible that I think the Rangers and Islanders play the first game Thursday, and then maybe Saturday we could see a Sorokin versus Shesterkin possibly match up at the Garden.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's very possible. I mean, for Sorokin, he really just has to try to adapt to the NHL. I mean, in the KHL, you play in a wider rink, so he's definitely going to have to adapt to the NHL style. I mean, there's going to be a little bit of a language barrier, but thankfully he has a countryman in Semyon Varlamov playing teaching him the way. But I do want to get back a second there, Joey, to the Noah Dobson point, which was what we have to remember about Noah Dobson is that he's only 20 years old. I think there was an article in Newsday just the other day from Laura Albanese that said that Trotz is ready to pour the spotlight right on Noah Dobson. Now, granted, he's not going to get the top defensive pairing minutes right away, but he's 20 years old. He's got a lot of learning to do, but I think him playing alongside Andy Green is going to do him a lot of benefits. But with Boychuk gone, the big piece for the Islanders getting back is the fact that Adam Pellick will be back for the Islanders.
Yes, and do not forget, too, Adam Pellick also, didn't he break his wrist as well last year as well? He's really been banged up. He blew out his Achilles back in December of 19, and then he broke his wrist. Really unbelievable stuff. And then he still played a couple. I think he played, Donnie, correct me if I'm wrong, but he played the rest of that game, and then he was out. Yeah. I think it was, and then game 6 he was out. Yeah. So that was the end for Pellick's 2019-20 season. But now we jump to back to Sorokin, if you will, because obviously there's $2 million that he's making this year. He's a restricted free agent after this year. He's arbitration eligible. And let's say, for instance, that Semyon Varlamov does really well, and he still has a decent amount of years. What does he have here? He's got 2 more years left after this year, $5 million each, and a full no trade clause. He had in the bubble a 2.14 goals against and a 2.62 goals against in the regular season, just in front of Thomas Greiss. The aforementioned Greiss is no longer there. Sorokin is there. Is there any cause for concern, let's just say, if Varlamov were to falter or even do really well? Would we be seeing the Sorokin show nice and early, let's say in, the first quarter of the season, because a Varlamov would come back right where he left off?
So for me, I think that you don't really see much Sorokin right off the bat. I don't think, God forbid he were to get hurt in the second game of the season. I think they would probably even lean on Schneider a little bit more early. But then again, if Sorokin comes out in game 1 and posts a shutout and, just is amazing from the beginning, then who knows? I mean, I'd like to see them give Sorokin a fair shot right off the bat. I think Varlamov is going to get most of the starts at the beginning. However, like I said, if Sorokin comes out and plays well, I think they should let him run with it a little bit and let him get that experience quickly. He's a pro. He's been playing for years. So if he's adapting easily, then go with it. That's my opinion on it. But who knows?
Ian and Rob, now I want to know from you guys as outsiders looking in, the Sorokin show, God forbid if he were to run away with it, Varlamov falters, or Semyon Varlamov continues to do what he did back in Toronto. Do we have a little bit of a goalie controversy on our hands?
Yeah, I think you absolutely can open up that conversation. I think that's something that the Islanders have been lacking, and I think Joey, you and Donnie yourself can certainly attest to this, is that the Islanders have been lacking a franchise goaltender for how many years now? The hope is that Sorokin is the guy. Thankfully for the Islanders that he decided to make his way over from Russia a little sooner than people expected. People weren't sure when Sorokin was going to decide to come over from the KHL, but right now everything is hanging in the balance. I mean, look, Varlamov is a staple for the Islanders. Look, they don't get as far as they do in the playoffs last year without him. Okay, I still am an advocate for starting him over Greiss in the game 7. Like, that was just me, just because he was the one that got you there. Stay with Varlamov to win it for you. But everything's just, listen, Varlamov is not a long-term piece. Sorokin is the long-term piece. Everything for the Islanders in terms of finally finding that franchise goaltender really rests with him right now.
And the reason why I brought that up in terms of a goaltender, in terms of a goaltender controversy, is because of the cap hit that Varlamov has, and because everything right now points to, as Ian alluded to earlier in the show, is that there's not a lot of money to be spent, and every dime, every penny counts. And that's the part where Islanders fans, and not only Islanders fans, but really at the front office of the Islanders, have to look, and they have to say, is he really worth $5 million? Would we have to move him in order to free up a few dollars? Rob DeLuca, your thoughts on Corey Schneider also coming to Long Island?
Look, yeah, I'm not gonna play around here. Corey Schneider needed to leave New Jersey. We found our future in Mackenzie Blackwood. At least we hope. And then we brought in case that doesn't work out this season so well, that's why we brought in star goaltender Corey Crawford. So I think that
good Lord,
Schneider needed a fresh start, and I'm glad to see he's getting one. I'm rooting for him. I hope not so much rooting for the Islanders. I'm rooting for him to recover his career while he's there and hopefully move on to a better team that can maybe get him a championship at some point. Because when you have a goaltender with you for 7 years that for the at least first 4 years puts up Vezina-like numbers on a team that just could not score to save the life of anybody, it can mess with your head when it's just like, where's the support from the rest of my teammates? And that's where I think Corey Schneider was at in his final years with the Devils. We're losing all these games 2-1, 1-0, on a good night 3-2. That's just where the Devils' offense was for so many years, and it's just good to see him get a chance to redeem himself.
You're officially banned from the Blue Line Deli now. Donnie, you are a lifelong Islanders fan. Travis Hammonic, a former fan favorite. He was also traded from New York to Calgary when there was some health problems with his mother. Unfortunately, things did not really work out for Calgary and also for Travis Hammonic there. But now he is on a PTO in Vancouver. As an Islanders fan, you look at some of these former fan favorites and you say to yourself, I'm going to root for you wherever you go. It doesn't matter, what team you're on, except if you're the Rangers, of course. Travis Hammonic, he was always a fan favorite to us here on Long Island. He was one of the nicest players that I've ever met as well. And to get another chance in Vancouver, how good is it, especially because of their cap situation as well?
Yeah, I mean, I've been rooting for him since before he left, obviously. Good dude, really good story. I mean, been through a lot of stuff in his life, and you only wish the best for him. I hope he goes there, finds a home, and he's happy, really. I mean, he's a great guy.
Ian Schraier, Travis Hammonic, especially because of the there's no Tyler Toffoli in Vancouver. Mm-hmm. Nate Schmidt was brought in because of the Alex Pietrangelo signing, as if, Vegas is playing NHL. Literally, they're playing NHL 21 every year with their cap space. And they signed Nate Schmidt. But the cool thing is that, or actually the bad part is that they gained Nate Schmidt, but they also lost their longest tenured defenseman in Christopher Tanev as well, who was really good on the defensive side of the puck. Travis Hammonic, he is, I don't want to say he's, very old, but I think he's in early 30s in that range. But talk about his restart, but also how good this is for Vancouver as well in terms of depth.
Oh, it's huge for Vancouver because the Canucks are just awfully thin on defense right now, because after their top defensive pairing, it's Quinn Hughes and just really a lot of young kids after that. So you're getting one of Calgary's he's 30 years old, but you're getting one of Calgary's best defensemen. He is as solid as can be when it comes to playing on the penalty kill. So why not put a guy like that on the opposite side of Quinn Hughes? Again, on a PTO, no less. So he has every opportunity to break into the top four of that Vancouver defense. And I'll be the first to say, in my years covering the Islanders for New York Sports Day, Hammer was one of my all-time favorite Islanders to interview. So I'm happy to see that he's making well for himself. I was actually sad to see him leave the Islanders because he was just such a great piece, as part of those Tavares and Molson teams. But I'm just wishing him all the best of luck in Vancouver, and he's got a chance to shine there because the Canucks are very much on the upstart, and they're looking to get back to the Western Conference Final again.
Yeah, it's really crazy to see how time has just moved on. 2016-17 was the last time that he was here before he had requested the trade with Garth Snow at the helm, and I couldn't believe it. Obviously, growing up with Travis Hammonic, as one of the top defensive guys on the Islanders when I was growing up. It's weird to see, obviously, now that he's moved on and he's been out of Long Island for nearly, we're going on 4 years now. That's crazy, guys. Time is just flying. Yeah, I know, right? That's really.
He was part of those first Barclays Center teams. I thought. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
I thought he actually left before that.
No, he was there. That was the year that they advanced like it was 1993. He was there. That's for sure. Now, to wrap up with you, Donnie, because we can't thank you enough for coming on here. And not only that, but, this is going to be on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. This is here on Eastern Observer, Zingo Television, 995, Channel 198. For all of those that are watching, please definitely send us some comments, send us some questions, send us questions for Donnie, and also do not forget Blue Line Deli, 719 West Jericho Turnpike. I got to ask you this, Donnie. UBS Arena, you got a little behind the scenes exclusive tour of the brand new building. Give us a little behind the scenes. I don't want to say lots of details because I love surprises, but tell us your thoughts on what the new building is going to look like.
Sure. So my first thought when I got there is it's massive. When you're looking at the pictures of it, you don't really grasp like how big it really is. And when we walked in, it's so beautifully done. Like just the bare bones of it, like it's just so high class, and it's not what we're used to, walking into the Nassau Coliseum. It's like, that's like preschool compared to this. This is like, college, and it's just beautiful. And the one thing that really took me back was, trying to figure out, like, because they keep saying how they're going to try to replicate the volume that the Islander fans bring to the games at the Coliseum. And how they're doing that is like the 100 section is much larger than any arena that I've ever seen. And there's less of the 2s and less of the 300s. And, but, they brought us all the way up. So we were standing at like the top of the 300 section looking down, and it's still just like the Coliseum. Like you could see everything, like in a lot of other buildings, when you're up that high, it looks so far away. In this building, it doesn't at all. I mean, it really does remind me of the Coliseum in that way. So I'm super excited about it. Obviously it's going to be state of the art. I'm hoping to be a part of it in other ways, and we'll see how that goes. But it's very exciting. I mean, Islander fans are really going to enjoy this a lot.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. And, and as again, Ian and Rob are rolling their eyes because
I'm not rolling. I just have one question, Donnie. I mean, you've seen the interior of UBS Arena. Is the video board at least on side this time or what?
Wow. Yeah. That is, you know what? Now your band. Your band now. That's it.
The difference is I'm in New Jersey. I'll never get there anyway.
Wow. Oh my goodness. But, Donnie, listen, tell us where we can find Blue Line Deli and really social media as well, because you are all over this. And also, since I was there a couple of days ago, I actually had entered a raffle. Give us a little bit of background on what that raffle is all about as well.
Yeah. So, new year, new season. We wanted to kick it off with a bang. So, we're giving away a signed, authentic Matt Barzell jersey, and anyone that comes in that buys one of our signature heroes will get a free raffle ticket, and we're going to do the drawing live on Twitter next Monday. So that's exciting. We're always trying to do giveaways and stuff because it just brings more fans in, and it's fun. People come in and they want to talk about hockey, and I'm going to work, and talking about hockey at work is just the best thing in the world. So it makes my day a lot better, and people love it. People love going into a place. We give out stress pucks and shirts and towels, and like just seeing their reactions of it, it's worth it 100%. So Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And as far as finding us, I mean, we're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Blue Line Deli. You can't miss us.
Yeah, absolutely. And also right on the ticker for those that are watching at Blue Line Deli 719 to follow Donnie and the Blue Line Deli. One more thing before we do let you go, Donnie. Back in August, when the Islanders clinched to go to the Eastern Conference Final, you guys had a flag giveaway, right? The car flag giveaway, and I think that was the coolest thing to see wrapped around Umberto's, which was nearly onto Cold Spring Hills Road, and the line was so far back, I could not believe it. And now you guys, your deli is a staple to New York Islanders fans. It is the coolest thing, and I'm extremely grateful not only to be an Islanders fan, but also to have you on our show, and also for your deli so close where I can get my breakfast and my lunch and my early bird dinner as well. So Donnie, thank you so much for coming on here, man. And I know I'll see you soon. But ladies and gentlemen, the owner of the Blue Line Deli, Donnie Rosner. Donnie, thank you so much for coming on, buddy.
Thanks for having me. It was fun, a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yep, we'll be speaking for sure, man. Stay well.
All right, take care.
Well, that's going to bring on now someone that we know. There you go. You see? Look at that.
Look how good he looks. He looks shaven
at that. You see?
And haircut.
You see that? He's got a haircut. He's got a fantastic facial hair going there.
Yeah,
and
you gotta look presentable. You gotta be dressed to the nines when you're appearing on this program. I can't show up like a schlub. Come on.
You sure you didn't have some sort of interview with the Danbury Hat Tricks before you got on with us tonight? Are you sure about that?
Every now and then I feel like trying. It's not every day. Every now and then. It's intermittent.
Don't forget he could have been on John Oliver as well.
True.
That's true. You don't know where I've been. I could be on HBO. I'm worldwide now. I'm a global brand. You're welcome.
Casey Bryant, hockey is upon us. T-minus 8 days from now, your New York Rangers have come out publicly and said, or actually Igor Shesterkin and David Quinn have come out and have said that there is no number one goaltender heading into this season. A little page out of Barry Trotz's playbook. Maybe we don't go with a number one or a 1A. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that Shesterkin is kind of being eased into the best possible situation because it's clear that Henrik Lundqvist, obviously wishing the best for Lundqvist given his health circumstances, but it's a clean break there. There's no lingering feelings of, oh, he should still be in New York. You don't have to worry about that. That's done. It's over with. So now you have Shesterkin, who comes in and was stellar in his first 13 games in the NHL, and he's going to be with Alexander Georgiev, who, while himself as a young goaltender, also has a bevy of experience while he's been there, and good experience. He's been able to learn from Benoit Allaire and Henrik Lundqvist and gain that NHL experience so that the pressure isn't all on Shesterkin right away to be the star of the team. He doesn't have to be the leader. You now have two guys that are capable of carrying that 1A, 1B workload, which has become all the more popular now in the NHL. You see every team doing it. Dallas did it all the way up until the Stanley Cup final with their goaltending situation. So what you have is a perfect scenario where in an 82-game season, you don't have to give Shesterkin 60, 65 games like the Rangers were doing in Henrik Lundqvist's prime. Now what you can do is kind of say, all right, Shesterkin, you can get 45, Georgiev, you can get 37, and kind of make a more balanced approach that way. It's a terrific situation for Shesterkin, and he has a great opportunity to get his feet underneath him first before too much is expected of him.
Ian Schraier, you're a Rangers fan. Is that something that you want?
I don't mind it. I think Casey said it perfectly. I don't really have too much to add to that, in all honesty. I think the only piece of it that perhaps maybe leaves a question mark is, although Georgiev had all that great experience from when Lundqvist was sidelined and had to, however many games left, and a fine job in helping to keep the Rangers within the playoff picture, is the fact that they were shopping Georgiev during the offseason, that they didn't want to carry three goaltenders. And was Lundqvist going to stay? And we knew Lundqvist wasn't going to stay. But to me, I think Shesterkin is the clear-cut number one. I think eventually he will be the clear-cut number one. He is the future of this team. They're going to go – I don't want to say they're going to go as far as he'll take them, but in goal, I think he is the next future of the franchise in net. But to Casey's point, I wouldn't mind seeing a 1A, 1B. You have a goaltender in Georgiev that has great experience, has been exposed for the last few years. And then you have a guy like Shesterkin who's up and coming, who showed you a lot in the postseason. And there's a lot to live, and there's a lot to go off of that.
Rob DeLuca, you're up.
Yeah, I think with this goaltending situation in New York, it's finally what they've been looking for, because this is the start of the future. This is it. The Henrik Lundqvist, may he have a very quick and speedy recovery, and hopefully can possibly, with any luck, return to the NHL someday. But what the Rangers are doing now is going forward with this very, very young squad. They have an average age of 25 years old. So this is a Rangers team ready for future success. I don't know what we're going to – we don't know what we're going to see from any team really in a 56-game season, only playing the same 7 teams 8 times, many times consecutively, seeing the same opponent over and over again, such as Rangers and Devils in April. It's going to be 4 games straight for both sides. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be fun, but it's going to be real interesting. It kind of leaves that variable of really anything can happen in such a short amount of time. A team you don't expect could get very hot. A team like that could be the New York Rangers with this young goaltending. You have someone solid in Alexander Georgiev. You saw only a little bit of Igor Shesterkin in the bubble, so you're not quite sure what you can see, especially when the Rangers defense, in all honesty, was not as good as they could have performed in the bubble, and it left Shesterkin out to dry for the most part, as well as Henrik Lundqvist. And it's just a matter of how the Rangers can improve going forward. They've got the top 6 for it. They've got some of the best top line players in the league. The big question mark is on defense, and that also attributes to how well can that help these young goaltenders out.
I tell you, the best blueprint for the Rangers going forward is going to be the 2013 Blackhawks that eventually won the Stanley Cup, because they went with that 1A, 1B system. I'm not saying that a Stanley Cup season is incoming for the New York Rangers. What I'm saying is, from a workload standpoint, you had in that 48-game season, or however many it was, I think it was 47. Math is hard. You had 28 starts for Corey Crawford and 19 starts for Ray Emery, and you got the best out of both of them because they were both staying sharp with regular action, and they were playing behind a solid defense, of course, a Stanley Cup winning defense, but you were able to get them both action, and you were able to keep rotating, and so that when the playoffs came around, you could roll with either one of them and still be confident. That, I think, is going to be an important blueprint going forward for Shesterkin and Georgiev, especially considering that Georgiev now has the stability of knowing he will be the one protected against the Seattle Kraken. So now you have a real foundation to be built here.
Yeah, it's not only that, but also next year, you also have that. And just to go back to what Ian had brought up earlier about Georgiev being shopped during the season as well, that's crazy stuff. And all of a sudden, you completely turn course, and now you have them as a 1A, 1B.
Yeah, I mean, it's a business. Hockey is a business. Players get shopped all the time. And when you're dealing with someone as grandiose as Henrik Lundqvist in the hockey landscape, you have to pursue all avenues. Dealing Alexander Georgiev at the deadline of the 2020 season was not a crazy idea, because in that world, Henrik Lundqvist still had a lot to offer and was still New York's goalie. So it was not out of the question. So the fact that they let Henrik Lundqvist get bought out kind of signaled the turn of the tide, and we are committed to the younger players. We are committed to the rebuild, the letter that Jeff Gorton and company sent out in 2018. That is our future. And I mean, that decision, I hate to say this, has been sort of vindicated by the health condition of Henrik Lundqvist, and the fact that he isn't going to be able to play this season. You feel a little better about your situation that you have now that you didn't trade Georgiev. You hate to be this callous in this decision, but it's something you have to consider, that you're better off now.
Well, I'll tell you one thing also. It's good also because, as you brought up, because now I'm a big numbers guy. I don't know why, but I am. And you bought him out.
It must be the glasses. You look it.
Yeah, 4 eyes, right? Yeah. So almost $13 million in a buyout as well. I just look here and I just say to myself that it is such a good thing that they did buy out Henrik. And it's not, that there was a gut feeling, whatever the case is. It just shows here that they have such confidence in these two goaltenders moving forward. And this team, I'm scared of this team moving forward, guys. This is, as an Islanders fan, I'm scared. This is amazing.
Well, Joey, they're still a year or two away from really, I don't want to say being at the Islanders level, but if you want to talk about them being scary, look, we don't know what to expect from Alexi Lafreniere. We don't know what we're going to get in the second year out of Kaapo Kakko. We don't know what is in front of the Rangers goaltending situation right now with regards to their defensemen. Right now, they're still technically in the thick of a rebuild. Thankfully, as a Ranger fan and for the Rangers, a lot of dead money comes off the books at the end of the 2021 season. So if you want to start talking about them scaring you, it'll be very interesting to see what Gorton and JD do this upcoming offseason to try to address some of these issues with all that money coming off the books.
Well, now that actually leads into my next question, where you brought up Kaapo Kakko, because now I want to ask Casey this, because you are the hockey freak on this show. There's hockey expert, then there's hockey freak, and that we'll give you that title on here. And Kaapo Kakko at 19 years old, or at 18 years old, obviously, listen, he's number 2 overall selection last year, No, 2 years ago. Good Lord. Well, a year and a half, if you will. Yeah, I know.
Time is completely out the window in
I know. It's true. It's bad. And Kaapo Kakko did not have a lights out rookie year. Do you see I want to say, I guess, the opposite of a sophomore slump, a sophomore uprise, if you will, or an uplift?
I think that Kaapo Kakko would be the first one to admit that it took a while to adjust in that first season for a myriad of reasons. You have David Quinn still trying to establish his system with new players. Kaapo Kakko didn't have consistent line mates really until the end of the season. And he started off the year, if you remember, playing on the 4th line. And that's not great minutes. And knowing the personnel in New York, who he's skating alongside, it's not always a great thing to be on the 4th line. You're not with very skilled players, and he had to earn that time, and he had to keep growing. I think the biggest solace, honestly, that Kaapo Kakko can take is the fact that the guy picked ahead of him, Jack Hughes, also didn't really light up the world. He only had 20 points in 60 games. So really, Kaapo Kakko, it's not like the world is going to be expected of him in year 2, because that whole draft class really kind of stutter stepped out of the gate. I think that consistent line mates is going to be the real key for Kaapo Kakko, especially since more players are going to be coming over. You still have Vitaly Kravtsov's future up in the air. Is he going to be coming back? You don't have to worry about finding ice time for Elias Anderson anymore. That experiment failed. So now maybe you put him on a line with Philip Hedl. Maybe you put him on a line with Alexi Lafreniere. There's more skill, more youth, and more speed where you can experiment, and it won't be sticking him with it's Greg McKegg on the 4th line. You don't have to worry about that particular pair. You don't have to worry about him. I can't even write. Who even was on the 4th line? Like Daryl Powell, Aaron Asham. Like what clown is on the 4th line this year? Michael Haley. Remember Rangers legend Michael Haley? So I mean, it's maybe Brendan Smith can play the wing again this year. It's going to be a year of stability. That's going to be the thing in question for Kaapo Kakko: consistency and stability.
Ian Schraier, you wanted to ask Casey a question from Rangers fan to Rangers fan. Go ahead.
Look, it was a question I added in at the last second. I think it's a question that Casey should be excited over, considering the state.
I'm always excited, Ian.
Considering the state of the Rangers' defensive front, so to speak. Gortz and JD appear to be very excited about him in training camp. Is there a possibility we could see Keandre Miller start the season with the club?
I'm very excited for Keandre Miller. Keandre Miller is one of those defensemen that the Rangers have been dying for. And honestly, they've tried bringing in these different defensemen that can do it all. You know, they're these two-way defensemen, especially someone like Keandre Miller, with his size, with his skating ability. He's such a strong player. So you've tried having those like top-line offensive defensemen before. Dan Boyle was too old. Kevin Shattenkirk started to break down physically. He didn't really pan out. So now you've brought in Jacob Trouba to try to be the model for him, and even Trouba kind of had a rough first season. Granted, it was because he was paired with Mark Stahl a lot in the first season, or he was dealing with Brendan Smith. You know, it hasn't been right for him. Keandre Miller seems like he can break the mold because Keandre Miller seems like a kind of defenseman who can do it all. And it really, again, will depend on who Keandre Miller is paired with, because if he's paired with the likes of Jacob Trouba or Adam Fox would be another great pairing for him. But if he's with Jack Johnson, Keandre Miller may as well jump in the Hudson River with his skate ball.
What about a Brendan Smith? Like,
Brendan Smith wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I get you try to. It's a tricky balance with the Rangers system because the Rangers have so many right-handed shots on the blue line, and you still have Nils Lundqvist yet to come over from Sweden. So you just have so many righties on the blue line. Their top pairing next year is looking like it's going to be Trouba and D'Angelo, which is two righties, which you almost never see in the NHL on the top pair, two righties.
Yep.
So David Quinn is going to have a lot to balance there with his righty-lefty, trying to get the right sides for everyone. Brendan Smith would not be the worst pairing in the world. I just hope that if he ever considers having a Johnson-Miller pairing, someone ties up David Quinn, just like holds back his arms so that he can't press that button.
Casey, just as a follow-up to that is that I don't think that they're really going to, at least at this point, if I was DQ, I really wouldn't want to break up the number two defensive pairing that they have right now with Lindgren and Fox. So adding a Keandre Miller, how much would that add stability for them in an area where they're really lacking it?
Oh, you can never have too many defensemen, first off. I mean, the best teams in the league are all built off of defense. You know, the St. Louis Blues, when they made their Stanley Cup run, had such an incredibly deep defensive core. You know, you had the likes of Pietrangelo and Parayko, and now they've brought in Torrey Krug, so their defense is just stacked. The Carolina Hurricanes are all stacked on the blue line. You have Joel Edmondson down there. You have so many skilled defensemen there. So the best teams in the league all have these young, mobile defensemen. You know, I was speaking with, not to name drop here, but, you know, pull it out of the wall and drop. I was speaking with Randy Moeller the other day, who's the broadcaster for the Florida Panthers and who himself was an NHL defenseman for 15 years. And he said that when I played, I was a very I was a very physical stay-at-home defenseman, could move the puck a little bit, but my job was to hit people in my zone. That defenseman is now extinct. He goes, I could not survive in today's NHL because I just wasn't quick enough. I wasn't fast enough. Keandre Miller is able to do that, and Keandre Miller is able to do that while shooting lefty. So it's a very important piece to have for Keandre Miller. There's a lot of reason for hype for this kid. And, you know, I'm almost more excited for him than I am for Lafreniere because defense has been a sore spot for the New York Rangers, honestly, ever since they went to the Stanley Cup in 2014. That's how long it's been since the Rangers really had a great defensive core. And even then it was iffy.
I know how you feel, Casey, from just exactly how that feels.
A little shoddy, to say the least. Casey Bryant, the New York Rangers, they were swept against the Carolina Hurricanes in the bubble. Not really a great showing, but also the last time that you saw
the showing we needed, Joey. It was the showing we needed.
The showing that you guys needed. But the serious question here is, and I'm actually going to take Ian's question from you. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
You're gonna. Well, that's okay. You take one of my questions later. The post Henrik Lundqvist era, as a fan, this is something that is, you know, hits everyone. I know it hit Patrick McCormick hard, our other fourth rotational host, and a lot of Rangers fans that I know, because you have to realize something. Henrik Lundqvist is one of the most likable players in all of the league, and from when I met him once, one of the nicest players I've ever met as well, if not the. As a fan, what does he mean to you? And the post Rangers era, or the post Lundqvist era, excuse me.
It's a funny balance, right? Because you mentioned the showing in the bubble and the playoffs, and we basically did what your Philadelphia Eagles did, which is just own it in. We had no interest in winning that series, and it worked out. We got the number one.
There it is.
There it is.
Wow.
I was wondering if we were going to go through a show without it.
Wow. I'm serious. And so with the Rangers organization did what they have to do to get the future secured. With that being said, it comes at the expense of the final games of Henrik Lundqvist. And while you're celebrating when that lottery ball comes out of the machine, it becomes all the more real that, oh my God, we saw the last game. And not only was it in just an abysmal performance from the organization, it was in front of no one. Henrik Lundqvist, and since he's not going to be able to play this year, he won't even get a farewell when he's wearing the wrong uniform. We won't get St. Louis Blues legend Martin Brodeur. Which
we didn't even get that either because the Blues had already played the Devils by the time.
We don't get the moment that it's the same city. So the closest comparable you could make is Eddie Jockeman. When Eddie Jockeman came back and was in a Red Wing uniform, he would have been on the Capitals. They would have seen him 6 times. So it would have been crazy. So the fact that he's gone and that you never got to say goodbye and you don't know when you're going to be able to say goodbye, because after his medical procedures, who even knows when he's going to be in the public eye again? Because he's earned all the privacy that he wants. It hurts. It really does. Buying him out was already kind of a controversial move. Yeah. So having him go without a goodbye is it just twists the knife, man.
Casey, just keep your eyes on the news and be ready to pounce on Henrik Lundqvist night tickets.
Casey,
if it happens.
Casey Bryant, cannot thank you enough for joining us here on our NHL special preview. And I'm sure right now, as Dave Pagnotta is in the waiting room right now, he thinks that we are all out of our minds, and especially Casey too. We're going to get him in just a second here. Casey Bryant, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see you in the next couple of weeks for sure.
Yeah, buddy.
I appreciate you having me on, guys.
Well, the secret's out. We'll see you on Friday.
Yeah.
Right, that's true.
I'll see you guys on Friday, and make sure you get Rob a screen. He looks ridiculous as the only one with that one.
Look at this. Look at this. Believe me.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Dave Pagnotta is here in just a second. Casey Bryant, thank you so much, buddy. Really appreciate you. And you guys will be on Friday. Dave Pagnotta, good to meet you, man. I've heard a lot about you from our good friend DB, Dennis Bernstein. And we cannot thank you for joining us, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Entertained already. That was a great segment right there.
Oh, my goodness. So Dave Pagnotta, ladies and gentlemen, co-founder of the Fourth Period Hockey Magazine, as well as the co-host of The Hot Stove on SiriusXM, airs on Saturday mornings from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So let's get things started, guys. Dave, again, thank you so much for coming on here. There's so much to talk about hockey-wise. Right now, let's not forget also, there's the World Juniors going on right now as well. And actually in about 28 minutes is going to be the opening face-off. So should be tons of fun there. But Ian, let's get started with you in terms of hockey, and let's ask Dave some questions here, and let's see what we got.
Sure. Dave, first of all, thank you so much for taking some time to come join us here on the Primetime Rundown. We really appreciate it. We just had, as you saw, Casey Bryant on, who is one of our rotational fourth hosts here on the show, and a big Rangers fan. And Joey had the pleasure of asking him the question, and I'd like to ask you the same thing. There was an announcement today on NHL.com on the website stating that the Rangers have not yet supposedly committed to naming Igor Shesterkin their number one goaltender as with the season starting for the Rangers a week from Thursday against the Islanders. That perhaps maybe is this a 1A 1B thing with Georgiev? What does this tell you right now about the Rangers goaltending situation?
Yeah, they want competition. They want two guys that absolutely want the number one job to be competing as if they want the number one job. So, you don't want to hand it to anybody. Both guys are obviously young, and Shesterkin certainly looks like the guy who's going to be given the keys. But they want to test drive both of these guys first. So I don't see anything wrong with that. They're going through this process. They're going through the rebuilding stage, retooling, whatever stage they're at this point. I don't have anything wrong with that. You want to let these guys compete against each other. And, well, first of all, they're going to fuel their bond between the two of them. Maybe they're going to be around for a long time. Maybe they're going to keep the tandem in place for a number of years. But in the meantime, if they don't, you still want these guys to like each other. But at the same time, you want that competition inside the room as well. So I don't see anything wrong with that. I think it's probably a good call, quite frankly, rather than just saying, yeah, he's our guy, you're the backup, and go from here. You want both of these young guys competing. And if Shesterkin's a guy and Georgiev performs really well, you just up his trade value that much more.
We know that with regards to the Rangers that they're thin defensively, but a lot of the attention from the Rangers this year, last year was focused a lot on Kaapo Kakko and Artemi Panarin, but even more this year because the spotlight is going to be shined on Alexis Lafreniere. Dave, what are your expectations? Because I haven't read a lot in terms of, you could read fan blogs, you can read what you can, but there really haven't been so much, as I should say, as maybe since the draft, where we've seen certain expectations associated, because there really haven't been, because at that time we were still expected to play an 82-game season. With the reduced schedule, so to speak, what are your expectations for Lafreniere's season, and what are you expecting for a second year from Kaapo Kakko?
I think it's going to be more or less the same for both of these guys. You want to ease them in, right? You don't want to just – same thing with Shesterkin. You don't want to give him the keys. You don't want to give these guys the keys either. You want to be in a position to ease them into the lineup. And I think they're doing that with Lafreniere, being in a position where he's not being put up in the top six, at least not right away, not on the top line. They're going to allow him to adjust to the NHL level. Which is the right move. You try to put too much pressure on some of these guys, and Kakko's going to be a great hockey player. Jack Hughes in Jersey is going to be a really good hockey player as well. But sometimes when you give some of these guys too much responsibility out of the gate, it doesn't bode too well. It doesn't work out from a starting perspective. So if you're going to ease Kakko into his second season, ease Lafreniere into his first in a 56-game schedule, I think that's perfect. I think that's the right way to go. Sorry, but just to say, if they start to shine, then okay, then you give them a little more runway. Right. They got to earn that.
Dave, full transparency here. I listen. I don't like to make any of my co-hosts cry, like Ian or Rob DeLuca here. But and you know what? And I have to tell you, you actually had a tweet earlier. And if I wanted to make anyone cry on this show, it would be Ian because he's a Rangers fan. I'm an Islanders fan, and that's just how it is. But whatever.
I'm not obvious enough.
Well, now, and Rob DeLuca knows exactly where I'm going.
Oh,
but with I can't even say it, but with Jesper Bratt and everything that's going on there, is Rob DeLuca going to be crying for a while with him not there?
Dave, first, thank you for coming. But that I don't know how many Devil fans are listening right now, but if you can put all of us at some sort of ease and just kind of explain what happened, because it's just when you have 10 months to at least lay the groundwork down. And now we're essentially looking at him more than likely missing opening night.
Yeah, I would say it's very likely that he's going to miss opening night. Sometimes, when you're in these situations with some of these, and this isn't exclusive to him. You have Barzell with the Islanders; he needs a deal. And so this isn't Kunin with Nashville, new guy there. So sometimes it takes a little bit of time, and if you don't get the number you want, then from a player's perspective, and it's pretty firm, then you just sit back and say, okay, well, we're just going to wait. We'll wait till camp, and we'll reconvene and get this thing all over again. Ovechkin, for example, they had conversations in the offseason about an extension, and they said, you know what, let's wait till camp gets going, and then we'll revisit it. Similar situation here, but with a restricted free agent. Now, I spoke to his agent earlier this morning. He's out in Sweden, so time difference and all that. But he reiterated that in order for him to come across on a working visa, P1 working visa, over in the United States, he needs to have a contract signed as proof that he is going to the States to work. So, you factor that in. So they still have to finalize a contract there. Once that takes place, then you showcase or show the proof basically that this is what we've got. We've got a contract that's going to work in the U.S. That process takes a few days. Then he comes over. He's got to do the quarantine. So I mean, if he signs, let's say, first thing tomorrow morning, you're probably looking at a good 10 to 14 days before he can hit the ice with the Devils.
Yeah, that really is tough. And it's tough also because you look at all of these things that are happening in terms of PTOs as well. And something that I want to ask you too, Dave, is that we're seeing high profile names such as like Mike Hoffman. He signed a PTO with the St. Louis Blues. And all of a sudden we thought, when I saw this, I honestly thought it was a fake account. And I'm not kidding. No. And Ian and DeLuca can attest to this, because I remember I texted both of them and I said, no, this is, what is going on here. We're starting to see these professional tryouts with many players now, and we're going to assume that this is all COVID related, but is this a way to really maximize their contracts moving forward? Like they can, play on these small deals, and then once the cap goes up, or once the cap unfreezes, if you will, they can really maximize.
Yeah, I think with a lot of these guys, it's trying to maneuver, especially for the teams that are up against it. It's trying to maneuver LTI in the offseason versus LTIR during the regular season. So they're calculated differently between offseason and regular season. So if they want, the Islanders, for example, if they want to have Johnny Boychuk's full $6 million cap hit go against the salary cap versus LTI or on LTIR to give yourself $6 million in extra spending effectively, then you got to do it on the first day of the regular season. Same with the St. Louis Blues with Tarasenko and Steen. They're over the cap unless they manipulate it somehow by sending some guys on waivers. One of those two guys has to go on LTI before the start of the regular season. So it's tough. It's a little tricky. It's all mathematics, but it's working. Hoffman's got his 1 year. I believe it's $4 million with St. Louis. That'll be official on the 13th. Hammonic's 1 year. I think it's $1 million with the Vancouver Canucks. Same situation. And the Isles have 4 guys, I think, on PTOs technically, because they haven't filed contracts as of early. I haven't checked in the last little bit, but they haven't filed them yet. So the understanding is there. This is a lot of handshake agreement stuff and trust me versus trust you. And at the same time, let's get you in camp. Let's get your legs under you. Let's get you back into the swing of things. And for Hammonic and Hoffman, let's get you acclimated to your new surroundings.
Yeah, Ian Schraier, follow up on Hoffman.
Yeah, Dave, I really wanted to follow up there because for me, when free agency came about, it seemed that Mike Hoffman was just going to get such a maximum payday from some team just coming off the year that he had in Florida. I mean, to Joey's point, granted, it could have been COVID related for a while. If somehow the Islanders and Lou were able to figure out their cap constraints, maybe he would have ended up on Long Island. But how? I'm still struggling to figure out how, of all people, Mike Hoffman ended up with a PTO.
Well, I mean, it's basically a 1 year, $4 million deal, right? The PTO is just the window dressing, so to speak, to get him in camp so that they can max the LTIR savings. What I can tell you guys is the market right out of the gate it took a lot of guys off guard. It caught them off guard, just like Hoffman. And the same thing with Taylor Hall. The only offer Taylor Hall received with an AAV of $8 million was the 1 year, $8 million offer he got from the Buffalo Sabres. Wow. He didn't get anything from somewhere else. I don't even think it came close to $7 million on a long-term deal. And quite frankly, I don't believe there was an actual long-term deal that was in the ballpark that was even laid out for him. So you take that into account, and people talk. So that information gets back to Hoffman and his agent. It was a really tough go for the most part for the UFA season. Almost, I guess, for some guys, lucky that there were only, that few amount of unrestricted free agents, top tier class anyway, that were available. So it was tough sledding out of the gate. they tried. There were a few teams that tried to make things work from a cap perspective. Boston, the Montreal Canadiens, the Islanders were certainly kicking around, and a few other teams. It was tough to make the money work, and he didn't want to wait anymore. He wanted to hit the ice.
It's really unbelievable to see how 2020 and even now 21 continue to amaze, because as I brought up earlier, how these PTOs happen or these 1-year deals happen. And then when I had seen Taylor Hall sign that 1-year deal, I said, it didn't make sense, but we kind of knew where it was going, and especially because Buffalo is so up in the air. Jack Eichel, there was you heard some talks where he might want out, or because they simply can't get over the hump, and there was nothing going on there. But a little bit positive news across the country, actually. Something that the Athletic's Kevin Kurz had reported about the San Jose Sharks, and I want to actually throw this here because Ryan Donato had brought up that Devin Dubnyk, who, as we all know, was an absolute dumpster fire with Minnesota last year and the year before as well, it simply didn't work out. He was really a flash in the pan, if you will, and he's never seen Devin Dubnyk, Ryan Donato, that is, practice so hard before. Now, Dave, I want to ask you this because Martin Jones and the goaltending tandem out in San Jose has been below expectations ever since they made it to the Stanley Cup final back in 2015-16. Is there a possibility that we could see a changing of the guard in San Jose?
It's back-to-back years of Martin Jones just not being good at all. And, you bring in a guy like Dubnyk who, certainly has some experience, had better days, needed a change of scenery, wanted really a change of scenery as well to kind of rejuvenate his career a little bit. And going to a team like San Jose, where you've got now, for the first time in a very, very long time, a healthy Logan Couture, a healthy Erik Karlsson, a healthy Brett Burns. These guys are ready to press reset on what happened last season, but they need their goaltending to work. And I quite frankly, I don't see a scenario if they don't compete for a playoff spot this season. I don't see Marty Jones being there much longer. And Dubnyk is brought in there to kind of, compete as well. Same situation. You want to be in a position to compete for a playoff spot. You look at the division, you're probably saying, okay, the West has Colorado, St. Louis, and Vegas probably at the top in whatever order. The other teams, the other 5 clubs are going to battle for a playoff spot. Minnie's going to be probably near the bottom. LA and Anaheim are probably going to be battling it out for the second worst spot in that division. And then you got San Jose and maybe Arizona kind of battling it out as well. And I'm not a big fan of the Coyotes at this stage. So this is a big opportunity for San Jose to get back into the swing of things, but they need Jones or Dubnyk to really catch fire here for a certain period of time. Maybe they offset each other. I'm not sure, but going back to what we talked about with, Georgiev and Shesterkin, you want that in the room competition between the pipes. They have that now in San Jose.
Ian, go ahead.
Dave, I'm not sure if you know this or not, but Joey's second favorite team to the Islanders is the San Jose Sharks. So
I didn't say a word.
Your favorite West team. It's the team
see, Dave understands. Thank you very much. Dave understands. That's it. Done.
So, this is also.
I love it.
I'd want to ask your compadre Dennis Bernstein, just because it's also in his neck of the woods as well, being out on the West Coast. But Logan Couture today. Speaking of Logan Couture, he had said today that. And granted, everybody, as you had mentioned, is back healthy. He feels that the San Jose Sharks can actually be a playoff team. Do you find there to be any truth to that?
Like I said, these guys are as healthy as they've been. And I spoke to him. I spoke to a few other players when their season was officially over, and even leading up to that official mark. And they wanted nothing more than to get that season behind them. And as soon as it was officially done, they're like, you know what? I don't even want to talk about it. We're not dealing with that. It is what it is. It's an anomaly. And let's get back to competing as well for a Stanley Cup with everybody else. And, the bulk of this team is, on paper, it's still pretty good. Again, it's the goaltending that they got to figure out. But really the San Jose Sharks, for me, I have them pegged as the 4th team right now in the Western Division or West Division. I would be surprised if they don't come close to making a playoff position. And maybe they surprise. Maybe they do really well. Maybe Marty Jones or Dubnyk catch fire over a strong stretch, and they surprise more people, myself included. But I'm expecting them to compete for a playoff spot this season. And there's a lot of confidence that goes to an athlete when you're healthy. When you've been battling injury after injury for 2, 3, 4 years in a row, to finally have a stretch before the season starts to be fully healthy again, that gets you going mentally. That's a different component that you bring to your bag of tricks that they can't really teach. You've got to be, somebody that can carry that with you yourself and utilize that to your advantage. Cooch has it. Bernstein has it. Evander Kane, who actually had a good season last year. This is going to be a differently motivated team.
Yeah.
Rob DeLuca. You can take my question.
I'll do it. Yeah, Dave, let's go back east a little bit and to a team that's more than likely going to jump into the playoff spot, the Carolina Hurricanes. Big question probably is got to be Dougie Hamilton. One more year left on the contract. And you just got to think, I'm sure Carolina fans want him there. He's a very talented player. I even took him for my fantasy team last night. There really is something about him that he's a very likable player. He's a very skilled player. Is Carolina going to be able to get him back here, or will Hamilton need to explore other options?
They want to keep him. They absolutely want to keep him. He wants to stay, as far as I know. This is one of these scenarios where let's get through COVID, let's get the season back underway, and then we'll figure out a contract when we can. And that's, from a player's perspective, you got your agents to deal with that, so you don't have to. You basically say, you do what you got to do, come to me when it's serious, and we'll figure it out then. But both sides want to make this work. It's just a matter of figuring it out. And I think from a money perspective, that's something that, is future Carolina problems if they have to go over, because it's not going to attribute to the cap this season. So they definitely want to get a deal done. He wants to get a deal done as well. So I'd be surprised if they don't. They had a couple offers this offseason for Dougie Hamilton that were relatively enticing. One that wasn't so much, but a couple that were pretty much there. And they said, no, we want to hold on to this guy. He's one of the rocks on our team. So we'll see what happens here. But yeah, both sides want to get something done. It's just a matter of finding the right numbers.
Dave, you got a couple of minutes to hang around here for a bit?
I can do that for a little bit, yeah.
You can. Well, there's some.
No.
Oh boy! Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Listen, hold on, DB. I'm sorry. Hang on 1 second. Here we go. I got to remove a couple.
They really want to be like me.
I got to remove a couple to get him back in. Hold on 1 second. There we go.
People out now.
There we go. Okay, hang on. Let's see. Did I get it right? There it is. There we go. DB, Happy New Year, sir. Happy New Year, DB.
Double J, Ian, Rob, great to be with you. I'm doing great. Double J, Rob, Ian, Dave.
Great to see you, DB.
Oh my goodness. Well, this is a little reunion, I guess, or coworkers hanging out, and I feel like we're intruding on this little when you guys went to Edmonton together as well.
I had to sneak food under his door just so he could eat a little bit while he was quarantined.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, Dave tweeted a pre-game conference with me. Took a picture of my door.
Yeah.
Dave, I got to ask you this question now, because this is actually, I want to ask the two of you this, DB and Dave here. And, last year we saw Joel Kiviranta. He really did absolutely just surreal. Same thing with Denis Gurianov as well. What do we expect following bubble play? Now we're going to see, 55-game season. Things are going to be a little different. What do we expect out of those two?
That's part of the future for the Dallas Stars, right? Is getting some of these younger guys more eyes. That's part of the reason why they didn't bring back Corey Perry, and they want to be able to, and a couple other guys, they want to be able to give these guys more of an opportunity to play. And DB and I have been talking about this for years. Dallas's big problem has been their lack of secondary scoring. And they were able to showcase that throughout the postseason and going into the Stanley Cup final. And they're certainly banking on that this season to carry them when, you don't have to always count on Tyler Seguin or Jamie Benn or Alex Radulov.
Yeah,
and they have to step up right away, guys, because Ty's not in to start the season. He had three surgeries, Dave. So this season you can't start 3-7. Maybe in one of the lesser divisions, but in that division you can't do that. So from the jump, these guys have to be ready to produce. And they had a baptism of fire in the postseason, went all the way to the Stanley Cup final. So I just think that they're going to really have to be productive off the jump, because Dave mentioned no Corey Perry, although Corey didn't really do much in there. I mean, he was a postseason ad basically for the team.
Yeah.
But they're going to have to start from very, very quickly, because Ty won't be there, and he's either the number 1 or 2 scorer to start the season.
Ian Schraier.
DV, welcome home to the Primetime Rundown. We love having you here with us to provide your insight. This was a question I had asked to Dave, and I want to ask you the same one, considering this is a team that is more or less just in your backyard, you covering the Kings. I had a question with regards to Double J's here, San Jose Sharks, which was the Sharks appear to be getting healthier. Logan Couture, Erik Karlsson, Brent Burns. It was reported today on NHL.com that Logan Couture believes that the San Jose Sharks can be a playoff team. Now, with their goaltending situation and how right now there's a lot of question marks surrounding their goalie situation, do you buy into that if you're San Jose?
Yeah, because there's 3 teams that are going to make the postseason in the West: Colorado, Vegas, and St. Louis. Okay, the 4th spot's up for grabs. If Devin Dubnyk is either going to split the net or who's going to take the net. Because I don't think that Martin Jones is going to play 45 games, right? We had Logan on our Hot Stoves show a couple weeks ago. He firmly believes they can make the postseason. But if he's healthy and Hurdle's healthy, their top 6 is pretty good. Where they're going to struggle, guys, you look at their bottom 6, that's why they're a 4th place team. That's why they won't contend for the division title. Their top 6 is legit. If they're healthy, the bottom 6, I don't know where they're going to get the scoring from. They're going to miss a little bit of leadership with Joe Thornton, go to Toronto. Their D should be healthy. They're going to have to get a lot of offense. Brent Burns is got to be the Norris Trophy Brent Burns, right? So things have to happen. They're not by default the 4th place team, but there's 3 and 5 in that division. And so, if they get the right breaks, if they stay healthy, and you got to figure they're going to be healthier than they were last year. They really, when they healthy, they don't beat themselves. They're a smart team. They'll stay in there. I'm not sure about Bugner as a coach, but yes, they can contend for the 4th spot, because all you need to do is finish 4th. So, Ian, to answer your question, I think they're legit to make the postseason. It's not that strong of a division other than the top 3. So they'll be in the race unless they get the same injuries they got last season, and Dubnyk's a 0, which I don't think he will be. I think he will help. Won't be easy, but they'll be in contention, I think, throughout the season.
Dave, I want to ask you this question. You look back, or flying back across the country, and look back to Toronto, and DB brought up, with losing the leadership experience with Joe Thornton, and not really so much, asking about the leadership perspective. I'm looking at the injury side, and something came up today about Alexander Kerfoot. And, even though that Sheldon Keefe did say that he's quote unquote banged up, and the reason why I bring this up is because, the depth in Toronto there really is none. How big of an injury is that to Toronto? If, let's say, for instance, being banged up is a little more than just that.
They've got, I'd say, they've got some depth with this team in terms of if slotting guys into the lineup. So, if Kerfoot's out of the mix, this is an opportunity for a kid like Nick Robertson to come in and scoop up that spot and prove his worth during the regular season now with the Toronto Maple Leafs, especially with the AHL not getting underway until early February. There's going to be a bit of a buffer zone there where they're going to allow, these types of players in these scenarios to step in for some injured guys. I like the makeup of Toronto. It was interesting. Everybody's been making a big deal, and I guess I kind of did as well at the start, that Jumbo was going to play with Marner and Matthews right out of the gate. Well, head coach Sheldon Keefe said yesterday that while that is going to be the case, there are going to be situations throughout the game where they're going to basically swap him out and bring somebody else onto that wing. So he may not necessarily get 15 minutes a night with that line, or 15 minutes a night at all. He may get, say, 13, and they may swap in somebody else, whether it's, Hyman or Robertson or somebody else. But certainly the bulk will be with Joe Thornton. But they can swap in certain players in certain moments, and they're expecting some big things from the Wayne Simmons in terms of what they're capable of doing in terms of playing that bottom six role. The interesting one for me, the addition they made was Jimmy Vesey. If they can get him going to what he was expected to be, that power forward type, I'm not sure they can. But if they can get some glimpse of that with Toronto this season, that would be certainly a big win for them.
On Joe, I talked to Tom McClellan, who coached Joe for a number of years in San Jose, and I asked him about the possibility of Joe playing with Marner and Matthews. And he says, I think it's great. He goes, he will make them better players without question. Yep. I don't know if he can keep up the pace, but Ian or Rob, I got a question for you. That hairdo on Double J, did he lose a bet to you guys? Is that why he's
Listen, DB,
this is the one show he decided to actually do his hair.
Okay, listen, let me tell you something. I'm losing my hair, number one. Okay, I'm losing my hair badly. Okay, back here, number one, and and also because my boss decided to get corona. I had to move my haircut up to today, so you would have actually seen a full head of hair today. But it's
okay, all right. Just wondering. It's pretty different than the last one. We can move on now. I thought you might have lost a bet to these guys.
Listen, in fairness, I'm wearing a hat today because it's not good what's happening here. So at least you got a cut.
It looks like a very fresh hat, if we're being honest.
Yeah, it does.
Yes, well, thank you. Well, yes, a little yeah.
Dave, you still in the COVID structure of cutting your own hair at this point, or no?
We got locked down here for another. I'm checking the calendar, like 2.5 weeks here in Toronto. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's the 23rd, and who knows what's going to happen after that. So, I'm trying to get black market haircuts set up here. I don't know if I should pull it off, but we'll see. Otherwise, I'm just going to take some. I don't know what I'm going to do, clippers or something, and just try to make something out of this.
Ian Schraier, go ahead.
Dave and DB, is a question for the both of you, and I want to stick in the Western Conference because most recently, I would say some of the biggest news we saw came out of Chicago, where we had heard that Jonathan Toews was going to be out indefinitely. Now, we know that the Blackhawks finished last year. They were in the bubble. They had upset Edmonton, but they finished in the bottom half of the Western Conference last year. We know Corey Crawford's not there anymore. We know that they're going to have to start getting younger at some point. But with that being the question, are there some younger players that we should be keeping an eye out for in Chicago? And on top of that, do you think that even with all their age and that they need to start to rebuild, could they even surprise some teams in what's really a loaded West?
Dennis, you want that one?
Go ahead. I got that one. Here's the thing. The youngster that you would have kept tabs on would have been Kirby Dach, right?
Yep.
And now he's gone, with that wrist injury. I don't know who's going to pass Kubalik the puck at this point. Ryan Strome is their number one center, I guess. Look, here's the deal. Forget all that stuff. When you go into the season with Colin Delia and Malcolm Subban as your goaltending pair, you're in a rebuild. You're not looking to win. You're looking to tank the season. I'm sorry. Those are not major league goaltenders. They're not. And so you can add anybody. JT can come back and Kanan can have a big season. Like, that's not – you're not a competitive team in net. And to me, that's where it ends and starts, Dave.
And I can tell you this. I know for a fact that, first of all, Chicago started the offseason saying we're not going after any goaltenders. We're not looking around at goalies. We're going to go with our young guys. That lasted about 8 seconds because they went out and made calls. They talked to free agent goaltenders. They explored the trade market a little bit. Nothing fit for them. Some guys didn't want to go to Chicago. They held firm on their young kids because of that. But I'm with DB in this one. With that goaltending duo, with all due respect, there's just not going to be I wouldn't expect much from Chicago. We have our on fourth period tomorrow. We've got our season predictions coming out, and I have Chicago dead last in the league.
Wow.
I mean, I'm expecting a good season from Patty Kane. I don't know. I think some of the guys that are supposed to do what they're supposed to do will have solid seasons. It's just not going to be enough for me. For the Chicago Blackhawks, without JT, without Kirby Dach in the lineup, Nylander's not in the mix either, right. And you were expecting him to contribute in some fashion. Yeah. It's going to be a rough season for Chicago, but it's a shortened season. You get through it. You go through the draft. You figure things out in the offseason, and you look to October to start all over again.
I think the biggest issue is that they didn't tell the players about it. Apparently, it looked like Taves and Kane were surprised that they were rebuilding. You can't do it. Not those guys. Those guys are famous. They're famous in Chicago. Not hockey famous. Legit famous. Right? Yeah. You can't do that to those guys. They built that franchise. So to me, that was the most surprising is the lack of communication about what's going on. But when you look at the roster, and and not that there was a bargain in Chicago, but they've really got nothing. It will be scared because in the middle they don't really have anything because of injuries and because of JT's illnesses. And then again, the net. I just think this is a team that's the bottom five. I don't know total last, but certainly in the bottom five. Certainly a lottery pick team.
And just to add quickly just on that one, even before we got the injuries to JT and to Kirby Dach, I mean, you're confusing your top tier players as to what a rebuild really is when you're adding to your roster. What did they sign Matthias Janmark for? What's the benefit? If you're a contending team, that's the exact player you want to add to your lineup. What did they get him for? I understand Soderberg coming in because Kirby Dach's out. You got to solidify yourself up the middle. But the Janmark, there was another addition they made. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's a lot of confusion as to what the direction is, and I think they need some kind of brushing up on what the definition of a rebuild actually is.
Down. That's right. Right down.
Yeah, and don't it doesn't make sense, and there's going to be a lot of question marks this year as well, guys. Something else that I want to bring up to the both of you, if Dave, you have still a couple more minutes. I know we're a few minutes over your slotted time, but
let me tell you
a couple more.
He's got time. We asked Jeff Carter about his haircut. He goes, "I haven't been doing anything for 11 months." So come on. So Dave's got time. He's under lockdown for 2.5 weeks. Right? It's 9:30 at night. Where's he going? He can watch the second period of the world. The
That's
World
true.
So he's got time.
If only we had Pates here, that would have been it. Oh my goodness.
Trifecta.
Yeah, exactly. Steven Stamkos now coming back from mainly missing most of 2019-20, or at least the playoffs, that is. And, no Nikita Kucherov as well. And now we're going to, there's not going to be any Cedric Paquette either. He's also gone. And now Tyler Johnson, obviously, we remember, fellas, that he was put on waivers at one point, and now he may be entering the lineup now, and he might be a vital part to this team. Talk about the loss of Nikita Kucherov and how big it is for Steven Stamkos to, let's say, stay healthy.
Yeah, well, that's key. If there was no Steven Stamkos in the lineup during last season, and they got by pretty well. So if he can come in and basically just sub in for Kucherov like they did the opposite,
right?
I think they're fine. I have them being tops in their division this season. I got a repeat going for this team going into the Stanley Cup Final. So the depth that they have, the key components they still have on their team, they're still there. I can see them adding a veteran depth defenseman closer to the trade deadline. That's something that would make sense from Tampa's perspective that I could certainly see happening. But, maybe they give Foote an opportunity out of the gate to kind of make this roster as well. They have a tiny bit of cap space, surprisingly, a little over $1 million once everybody's on LTIR. So it's going to be an interesting season for Tampa. But for me, I like what I see. I think Steven Stamkos is ridiculously motivated to get going all over again. And I think that's going to be trouble for the whatever division there is. Central. Yeah, I keep forgetting.
Yeah, we're all over the place. DB, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that, some GMs play checkers and some play chess, and Julian Brisbois is playing chess right now, right? I mean, the moves he made to get guys signed and under the cap, and the trade he made with Ottawa, he's just done flawlessly. And we talk about the guys, and we haven't even talked about Braden Point or Hedman or Vasilevsky. And remember why, and Dave pointed this out to me a couple of weeks ago, remember why they weren't good at the beginning of the season last year. It's because the goalie wasn't any good. If the goalie comes good out of the box, they're going to win, not in a breeze, because I think Carolina's going to be pesky in that division. And without Kucherov, you're going to have some lack of offense, so you might lose the occasional game. I like him. I'm with Dave. I like him to go back to the Cup final, not to win it, but I like him to go back to the Cup final. There's just too much talent there. Anthony Cirelli is going to take a bigger role on this team. Tyler Johnson's going to be motivated either to stay there or be traded out of town. And he's got redemption, right? Me and Dave saw him in the Cup final. He was terrible. He didn't do anything. He was totally ineffective in the Cup final. But he's got a chip on his shoulder. So, yeah, I don't think this team is going to breeze as easy as everybody thinks they are, but they're certainly going to be in the postseason. And I certainly think once Kucherov comes back, unless there's some rash of injuries to this team, they're certainly talented enough to get to the final two.
Ian Schraier.
Guys, Sidney Crosby says he's very motivated right now with what's going on in Pittsburgh, even though he's coming off a hurt season in which he played 41 games. But I think we can all say that the Penguins are pretty well passed over the hill, and a lot of people, as a result, are writing them off. Should there be any reason? I mean, we know how stacked. If this was a full 82-game season and the alignment is what it usually is, within that loaded Metropolitan division, but should we be feeling otherwise about the Penguins, or should we be putting them towards the bottom of that division, especially now with the Bruins there as well?
For me, I'm one of the optimists with respect to Pittsburgh. I know there are a lot of question marks on Tristan Jarry after trading away Matt Murray. I like the kid. I think he's solid. I think he's stable between the pipes for this team. Pittsburgh has a funny way of rejuvenating defensemen and changing them up a little bit. So I think the addition of Matheson is not by any stretch as negative as a lot of people have made it out to be. I think this is a reclamation project for Pittsburgh, and I think he's going to do pretty decently back there. But not only is Sid motivated, I mean, Chris Letang is tremendously motivated as well. Evgeny Malkin is as well. You've got Gunsel, who's young. You've got Kapanen that they acquired, who's going to be able to help stabilize that top six once I think he's either in the country or just getting in at this point. He's got to go through quarantine and all that stuff. But I'm not writing this team off by any stretch. I think there's certainly going to be a playoff team. How they perform to that point, for me, will ultimately tell whether they can go the distance or not. But I'm not ready to write them off just yet.
DB, your thoughts on Pittsburgh?
Well, there are going to be one or maybe two really good teams that miss the postseason in that division. It's a brutal division. It absolutely is, except for maybe the Devils. I know there's some Devils fans that's supposed to be watching this, which probably should turn it off right now. Other than that,
probably not.
Pittsburgh could have a solid season and not make the postseason. So yeah, I think they're in the middle of the pack here. And I know Sid and Gino getting older, but they're still dangerous. To me, it's like all about the postseason because they don't show up in the like. How do you lose to Montreal? I know Dave's a Montreal fan going back to his, to his home days there. But how do you lose that? I mean, I was picking Montreal. I was picking Pittsburgh in 2 in that series, and I remember that. Me, it doesn't matter first, second, third, or fourth. JJ, it's the postseason because they do anything in the postseason. They are the under, as much as crazy it sounds, they are the primary underachievers in the postseason right now. Like they took the banner away from Tampa because Tampa won last year. To me, so Ian, it's a toss-up to me. They could be fourth, they could be fifth, they could be second. I'm not really sure because I'm not sure about Boston because they lose Z in the room. Yeah. They're not really healthy to start the season. Their left side isn't really that great. Who knows with Tuukka Rask? But Pittsburgh, I think they could be playing for a playoff spot at the final week of the season.
DB, I had to drop this in there just because you had mentioned about them not showing up in the postseason. So does that not apply to the Los Angeles Dodgers anymore, or what?
Well, I'm a Yankee fan, so I shouldn't talk. Yeah. Well, 60 games. You think that was a legit season? 60 games, runner on second to start the 10th inning, 7-inning doubleheader. Okay. All right. That's what it took for the Dodgers to break the curse for 32 years. So, but to say that they were the best team, and yes, it did break the Dodgers streak and stuff like that. And look, my wife's a Dodger fan. I was happy for her. I was happy for a lot of my friends who are Dodger fans. But win a season when it's 162 games and we got legitimate playoffs.
Gentlemen, I can't thank the both of you enough for coming on tonight. I had one more question for the two of you, and individually, hopefully you both have different opinions to it. My final question to the two of you is: I would really want to know who is your biggest surprise for the 2021 season, and not so much maybe succeeding. Is there a team that you're expecting that maybe teams are grading a little low that you maybe expect to rise to a team that can hover around the playoffs, or is there a team that analysts are very high on that maybe we might see towards the bottom?
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good. For me, it's fine. I wrote down my whole predictions so far for this season. So far, I like Montreal. I think more than yes, to Dennis's point, I grew up a Habs fan. I grew up in Montreal. There's nothing to apply here. I haven't been a fan in a while. But that being said, I think Montreal is going to do a little bit more damage than people anticipate. I think Carey Price is going to have a hell of a season. It's a shortened season. He's got Jake Allen there. The Habs have Jake Allen to step in. So I think the Canadiens, I don't think they're going to take the division, but I have them second. In the North Division, I think they're going to be a team to look out for in this one. And I'm not not writing off Florida either. This is a team for me that I think we're going to see a bit of a rebound from Bobrovsky over his career. If you look, the other there were two other seasons that were just abysmal for him throughout his career. The following years, I believe he won the Vezina. So. I'm not saying he's going to have that hell of a season. I don't think that's the case. But I think he's going to have a rebound year. I think we've got motivation coming out of Huberdeau and Barkov. I think Duclair has a lot to prove after his little contract debacle situation as a free agent. And I like their defense. So for me, the two teams that I think might surprise in a positive way, Montreal and Florida.
So Dave, I wanted to follow up on what you had said about Montreal then. So if you have Montreal at 2, and I'm not trying to tease your viewers for tomorrow, but is Vancouver your 1, Toronto your 1? I'm curious.
Oh, wow.
Oh, he did it to him.
Wow.
Yeah. I can give it to you. I can give it to you.
Wow.
And it's not because I live here and cover the team. But I have Toronto number 1.
Wow.
In the division. I have Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, Calgary as my top 4. I just don't like the goaltending in Edmonton, and with no Clefbaum, I think it's going to be a bit of a struggle for them. I think they're going to have a hell of a season. I think we're going to see some serious improvements out of the Edmonton Oilers. I think Puyarvi is going to be legit, but I just don't think there's enough for them. So for me, I got the Leafs. I don't know how well they're going to do come the postseason, but I like the makeup of this team. This is a really good regular season team. I don't know how they're going to be in the postseason. The Leafs.
DB, it's all you.
I really like Carolina. I think Carolina, if Tampa, if the injury factor that's Kucherov, and they don't come out of the box, I think they're going to sneak up on. They're not going to sneak up. They're legitimately, I think, the second best team in the division. I think they got a shot at winning the division. The teams that go the other way, like, first of all, I'm not buying Buffalo for a second. Sorry, not with that goaltending. There's no way.
Nope.
100%.
They may make strides. They get a Taylor Hall. Again, that's about goaltending. The Islanders better start well. Okay, the Barzell thing. They play 7 of their first 20 at home. And I know there's not a lot of travel. That's still brutal going to other teams' buildings. Like they better start fast. Matt better come in, because if he doesn't come in the first 5-10 games, they're not going to score goals. They're going to have to win all those games 2-1. And it's going to be a lot of pressure on this team. right? And the other team I'm not sure about, to be honest with you. I know some people, they were the darling last year. They were the it team coming into the postseason. I want to see Philly do this again. I want to see Philly do that trick again where they're leading the division because they closed well. Everybody's feeling a good sleeper. I'm not 100%. I know Carter Hart played great for this team. I want to see them do it again in a very tough division. So to me, it's more the teams that might underperform than the teams that overachieve. Because I think I'm with Dave on Montreal. I think they can win the division. I think that Winnipeg, even with the Laine stuff, like they got their top 6 is really good. And if Connor Hellebuyck can play 40 games, right, or 45 games, that's not a heavy workload for him. So I think that Winnipeg could stick their head in there, maybe get a 3rd or 4th spot. So the teams I would look at positively would be Carolina and Winnipeg. The teams that should just to watch out, other than what Ian said about Pittsburgh, will be Buffalo, Islanders, and Philly.
So I got to ask you this, DB, because we just before you came on here, we were talking with Dave earlier, and we were talking about how I don't like to make anyone cry except Ian because he's a Rangers fan. But you were talking about how you can't really buy anything with Buffalo. How can you do with New Jersey?
What's there to buy?
Is there anything positive on New Jersey?
Well, Jack Hughes can't play any worse than he did last year, right? The goaltending's going to be better. Corey Crawford's legit, and I like Mackenzie Blackwood. I had him, I think 3rd for Rookie of the Year. I don't remember. I had him in my Rookie of the Year ballot. It can't. It's just that the team's going to struggle to score. I don't know how they're going to do it. I mean, Jack's going to be better, but they're clearly the worst team in the division, like without question. And now PK, he broke up with his girl, so maybe he's going to be upset.
DB, a lot of Devils fans think that's going to be the spark that turns him back around to the player we saw back in Montreal.
Keep hope alive, Rob. Keep hope alive.
Hope died last year. But yeah, no, I think defense is their biggest problem by far and away. The back end is the problem.
There's too many holes, and there's no easy games for them. Look what the division they're playing in. There's no respite. You can't go there and play Florida or you're not getting those Western Conference teams coming in.
They got to play Boston 8 times. Got to play Boston 8 times. Got to play New York 8 times.
Yeah,
it's a defense-heavy draft, so that's a plus for New Jersey.
Yeah, they're gonna need to strike there big. I couldn't agree more, guys.
Guys, I have 3 more questions. Go ahead, DB.
I like the coaching move because you need a veteran coach in there to manage through this tough season. Yeah. Like, Lindy may not be the guy eventually. I mean, I think they gave up on Hines and Ray too early. But Lindy in there in a really tough season, he's not going to panic. Some of these players are going to grow through him. So I think that's the right move. You're
going to have moment. Fans trying to locate your address for saying John Hines was given up on too early.
DB, we'll see in Nashville if he wins the cup. Who knows?
Well, Nashville took a tumble once he got there. My goodness,
that's what happened.
Yeah,
and that's why you'll never convince Devils fans to do anything right.
Dave, DB, three more questions for you guys. DB, I want to ask you this because you're the LA Kings extraordinaire and the expert of the 4th period, and Andreas Athanasiou, where I know here out on the East Coast, and Dave can attest to this, a lot of Islanders fans out here really wanted him and thought that he would be a decent fit with Barry Trotz. Maybe he can get fixed defensively or anything along those lines. But he's in LA now with Todd McClellan. What are your thoughts on him and where is the fit?
Well, we talked to Todd about him today. He's still not – he was quarantined, so he'll be on the ice tomorrow in practice. He fits on the bottom 6 left wing. So 3rd line left wing. Right now I think they've got like Trevor Moore or Carl Gernstrom. And they keep saying, look, this guy did score 30 goals in this league. He's fast. They want to play with more pace. So he does fit in. But Todd said – he has to, and this is probably his last shot. Maybe he gets one more shot, but this is a team that's rebuilding that has not a lot of scoring on the wings. They were 30th in scoring last year. I think they should tank the season, but not everybody. Some of the guys in the room think they're going to make the playoffs. I think it's the worst time to do that with Dave talking about a heavy draft with respect to defensemen. So he fits on the 3rd line, Double J. He can do it, but Todd said he has to commit to playing to both sides of the puck. If he doesn't do it, because they had a guy in that last year. His name's Ilya Kovalchuk. Didn't play the other side of the puck. He got him on a bench. He's gone. So with there's no risk. It's a $1.2 million deal. One way, if he doesn't make it, they waive him. He's got a really good opportunity, which I think is going to be his last. So they're going to try to fit him in on the third line. He'll play with Blake Lizotte and Jeff Carter. Lizotte can skate. So he's got an opportunity. It's wide open. He wouldn't get this opportunity on a lot of teams. And they excused away the minus 46 last year because they said, guys are on the ice for, empty net goals and stuff like that. I'm like, not at minus 46. Was he on the ice for 23 empty net goals? That would make him a minus 23, and he still was better. He's got potential. He's more proven than Martin Frk is. And Martin Frk's on the second line of this team. So to me, Anthony Ciu has a shot. It's probably his last shot, but he's got to commit to the structure that Todd's put in here, which they're going to adhere to. So it'll be very, very interesting how he handles this player because he didn't handle a player well last season, the same type of one-way player.
Dave, your thoughts on Andreas?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think this is an opportunity for him to rejuvenate himself, but he's got to commit to playing both sides. He doesn't have to be the defensive player of the year.
He doesn't have to be a self-keeper, right? Exactly.
No, not by any stretch. But he needs to be cognizant of the fact that he's got to play some defense. So if he can do that and contribute offensively, I think he not only has an opportunity to stick with the team, but maybe move up. We'll see. I think there's going to be a lot of juggling, depending on how these guys. I mean, Dennis, you're going to see this in a few days.
On the left side, absolutely. Underneath Iafallo, who needs a contract, they don't have much on the left side. They've got a lot of unproven. They got Adrian Kempe, scored 11 goals yesterday. He's the second line left wing. Could he usurp that spot and take it over from Kempe? Absolutely, he could.
Yeah.
Guys, last question from me, and to let you guys go, as we have a few more minutes left on our show. Guys, we really can't thank you enough for coming on here, and for all of those that are out there watching, Dave Pagnotta, Dennis Bernstein with us here from the fourth period, SiriusXM. The Hot Stove is on Saturday mornings from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Channel 90. Oh my goodness, guys, help me 91. Here. 91. There we go. Yes. I had it right on the tip of my tongue, and I thought I was wrong there. Guys, there's 2 outdoor games, Dave, and this is something that I found a little. I found very questionable because they were trying to keep all of the divisions, trying to not, I guess, cross-contaminate all these teams or go into different areas of the country and whatnot. And now we're seeing 2 outdoor games at Lake Tahoe, Boston, Philadelphia, and I believe Colorado and Vegas is the other 2. What do you make of this? I mean, it's pretty cool again that we're, getting these outdoor games, but to have the Eastern team go out to the Rocky Mountains, does it make any sense?
This is a test. This is a trial run for the NHL to see how these types of games in these unique settings do. This is also an opportunity to put more of a spotlight on the league and kind of shine a greater one on for new TV contracts, for new potential sponsors. I mean, they're hoping to break even on this event. It's going to cost a lot of money. It costs a lot of money to put on these outdoor events, to accommodate NHL pro athletes into, the right accommodations and the right travel and the league staff and all that stuff. It's cost a pretty penny. So they're hoping that through the sponsorship dollars that they're going to get and generate through this, that will at least even things out. Now, maybe they can make a little more on the broadcast and blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, that's what they're hoping for this season. And then if it works, if the viewership is there, if it's aesthetically as nice as everybody's anticipating, this is a big opportunity as another selling point for another event as the years progress. And different opportunities, different plays. They looked at Utah. They looked at out in Alberta as well. And there were a few other spots that they're looking at, non-traditional NHL markets, but picturesque, fits the theme type of hockey environment. And if it's another way to sell and it's another way to draw eyeballs, I think it's pretty cool. We're going to try to get out there to cover it. We'll see at that point what the restrictions, if there are any, will be. There's not going to be any fans at this thing, but they're going to want certainly a lot of coverage and eyeballs on it. I think it's pretty cool, and it's got the potential to be really successful.
Well, it should be a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys, continue to stay safe, stay healthy. Dave Pagnotta, DB, as always, both of you, cannot thank you both enough for coming on here, and Happy New Year to the two of you. DB, great to see you, and Dave Pagnotta, really great to meet you as well.
You too, guys. Thanks for having us.
DB, Dave, we'll see you guys soon, and we'll be in touch. All right, guys, have a good one.
Take care, guys.
So, really good stuff, fellas, and we're going to continue to promote the Hot Stove on SiriusXM NHL Network Radio. The Hot Stove, powered by the Fourth Period, with Dave Pagnotta and DB. Dennis Bernstein is on Saturday mornings from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time on SiriusXM Channel 91. Really, really good stuff there, fellas. I'd say tonight was a success.
I'm ready to do it all over again, to be honest.
Oh my God.
That
two
was 2 hours.
Why? Are you kidding me? We're already done? Beautiful.
It's beyond crazy, ladies and gentlemen. And again, too, this is some big news as well, is that we are on Apple Podcasts. We are on iHeartRadio. We are on Google Podcast. We're on Spotify as well. Again, just all you have to do is just search the Primetime Rundown. Our normal shows are on Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. This coming Friday, though, unfortunately, I will not be there, unfortunately, due to work. And, things happen. But for the next few weeks, it will be Ian Schraier and Rob DeLuca running the show. And it's going to be tons of fun. I have all the confidence in the world that these two will not burn it down. And to DB earlier, yes, I should have told him that I was going to get a mohawk just for him. And that maybe the next time when he comes on, I might just have that. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's pay a couple of bills here because, we cannot. Today was Doubleheader Tuesday, and that's something that we didn't say. Double Play Tuesday, actually, as Al Carl said. So for those that are watching, that were watching about 4 hours ago, from the Essential Wrestling Podcast, and now we're still watching us, we cannot thank you enough. The Essential Wrestling Podcast concluded at around 8 o'clock, and we took over. So really good stuff there. And for all of those that are watching, again, tomorrow morning, the usual daily wrestling news show will be on with Ryan Joy, starting at 10 a.m. right here on the Eastern Observer, presented to you by Minutes to Bell Time and ProWrestlingPick'em.com. Also, let's not forget this coming Friday, as we just alluded to earlier, the Primetime Rundown powered by StreamYard will be back on Friday night, starting at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Ian Schraier, Rob DeLuca, Casey Bryant, and Larry Pertakowitz will bring you all the latest in the world of sports, as unfortunately I will be out on assignment, as they say in the TV world, to try and sound somewhat, let's call it famous, or I don't know, useful, or whatever we want to call it. But let's just keep it going, guys, because you know what? We're only at 2 hours. We usually go to 2 hours and 10 minutes. No, I'm just kidding. Ladies and gentlemen, for all of those that want to know how to win a Jim the Anvil Neidhart 8.5 by 11 signed photo, make sure that you search I-95 Sports Network on YouTube. You join our channel by clicking the subscribe button or the notifications button by clicking the little bell that you can see there on the graphic. And also, while watching our live show, click comment and add hashtag EWP Anvil. The first person that does all of this will be entered for a chance to win said the Anvil Neidhart 8.5 by 11 photo. The NHL is going to be starting up next week, ladies and gentlemen. So a really, really, really good show from us. And not even from us, because I don't want to pat ourselves on the back, but I want to pat Dave Pagnotta and also DB, our good friend as well. They make our show, guys. DB's just one of a kind, and he also brings the laughs as well. So really good stuff there. Also, let's not forget we kind of were in a rush this earlier today. Black Cats NYC. Our show is presented by them. New album, Free Cake, is out now. Play loud. Listen on Apple Music, Deezer, YouTube, SoundCloud, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, Pandora, and Spotify. Do not forget, Free Cake is out right now on the following platforms. Our main introduction song is Dirty Little Hipster. We cannot thank Tyler Adele as well as his uncle. his uncle Andrew Giordano for that as well. Really good stuff there. So, guys, let's conclude our show by saying, do we have any hockey kudos here? I had to throw that in there. I had to throw that in there and say,
your little Islander fan troll self.
No, if we're gonna give out kudos, my kudos are gonna go to Henrik Lundqvist. I know a while back that the announcement came out that he had a heart condition and wouldn't play, and now it's. I'm glad to have you back there, Joey.
Yeah, sorry.
That he's going to need open heart surgery. So I just want to wish the Lundqvist family all the best, Henrik especially. This is not an easy surgery to go under the knife for, and I just wish him and his family all the best, and hopefully he comes out of there like a champ, and hopefully there will be a team that gives him another chance at 40-plus years old. I doubt it. So to Casey's point from earlier this evening, to say that maybe we will never have that goodbye game for Hank, it seems very, very possible, but I hope it's not. But wishing Henrik all the best.
Yeah, look, kudos to everyone that came on tonight. And, this show would not have been as epic without him. It's straightforward. Look, we're three great people, but we would not have been that exciting for 2 hours without all of our amazing guests that came on. Not even a question about it.
Absolutely.
True. Donnie Rosner, Casey Bryant, Dave Pagnotta, Dennis Bernstein as well. Ladies and gentlemen, please do not forget we are on Friday night, and I'm sure that there is going to be lots to talk about. Ian Schraier, Rob DeLuca in anticipation, and just ahead is going to be NFL Wildcard Weekend, just ahead of Wildcard Weekend. So there's a lot to talk about, and I know that these two football fanatics, Giants fans, will be talking about something that I really didn't want to talk about, and I just opened a can of worms myself. So, but whatever. That is
Friday will be a jam-packed football show. I mean, there'll be
going to be a lot.
Yeah, there'll be a little baseball mixed in as well, but it's going to be pretty.
Hopefully something cooks up with baseball. That way, it actually we don't have to oriented football. So.
Ladies and gentlemen, one final time for our guests, Donald Rosner, Dennis Bernstein, Dave Pagnotta, and Casey Bryant, my co-host Ian Schraier, Rob DeLuca. I'm Joey Jarzynka, and for all of us at Blackjack Media Group, we'll see you next time.